The 1995 movie The Net is a paranoid thriller about this oddity called the internet.
Our whole world is sitting there on a computer. It's in the computer.
Sandra Bullock's character chats with Cyber Bob, orders her pizza off pizza.net, and hangs out with Dennis Miller during that brief window when he was a feature film actor.
This is bizarre.
As an early cyber thriller, The Net introduced the internet, and as importantly, a look for the internet to a lot of people. But those web pages weren't real. Someone had to get those invented graphics on Sandra Bullock's computer screen.
My name's Todd Marks. I'm a computer video playback supervisor for feature film, television, and commercials. I've been doing this for about 25 years now.
Todd's work shows the incredible detail that goes into major motion pictures and reveals secrets behind the screens within screens in movies from The Net to Steve Jobs. But it also uncovers a key to how big stories are told well.
A computer playback supervisor gets the graphics on the screens in TV shows or movies. Sometimes the screens you see in movies are added after the fact, and sometimes they're prepared beforehand to shoot along with the scene. People like Todd have to figure out how to display and make those graphics, or, well, as Todd explains.
Well, the challenges of doing any production graphics, motion graphics for playback graphics for a film is to do something that's visually interesting, conveys the message, and is plausible. Those are my three big things.
In the comedy Anchorman 2, challenges common to Todd's job are especially clear. The comedy's set in the early 1980s at the dawn of cable.
We're starting a 24-hour news channel, GNN, the Global News Network.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That meant there were tons of old TVs in the background, each of which had to be period appropriate physically and display something period appropriate too. They filmed a lot of the footage on their own because the easiest way to get something that looked like it was from the 80s was to make it.
Okay, so what's going to go on this screen? What's going to go on that screen? And what's happening? Will Ferrell is coming into the studio, so we're not on air yet. So what's on the screens then?
In this case, Todd had to plan a lot. This chart is typical of how a playback supervisor would need to plan for a busy shoot. It breaks down the necessary shots. Ron smokes crack on air. There's a neatly ordered cell in the spreadsheet to get everything necessary for the shot. Other documents carry more specifics. When Ron and the team meet their new coworker, Linda Jackson, Todd had a list of exactly what background elements were necessary, like the 3-wall TVs. That planning allows big gags to work without a hitch. When Idiot Weatherman Brick, played by Steve Carell, went in front of a green screen in green pants, it was clear the scene would work better if Todd and his team made the effect happen live.
It wasn't that tricky, but the production hadn't really planned on doing it live. And we were like, no, we're doing this live. And they're like, oh, great.
The result of all that is... In Team America, planning meant finding the perfect tiny LCD screens for Kim Jong-il's palace.
The smaller scale, there's little 7-inch screens right there, 7.5-inch screens. And you can see me, so I had to lean in without falling into the set.
In the comedy The Internship, which was set at Google, it meant finding the right giant screens for corporate presentations. But these screens aren't only important details. Sometimes they can be a key turning point for a story.
With Date Night, in that particular scene with Mark Wahlberg, he was a high-tech security expert.
Now, you might not expect Date Night to include a technically driven moment. It's a very light 2010 comedy. But Todd's work in this scene is crucial to landing one of the movie's best jokes. In it, Mark Wahlberg parodies a trope of over-the-top action movie computer stuff. It ends up being pretty funny, and that joke required a lot of work.
So then we have to create a whole logic to the thing and figure out, map out what we want to do.
One silly gag required elaborate mock-ups, rejected concepts, and designs to perfectly sync the digitally inserted screen with the practical side units on the wall. You might not be looking for a coherent user interface design in date night, but see how they bothered with the color of that circular control? The filmmakers cared because it was key to making the joke work. That attention to design was important in a different way. In the period piece, Steve Jobs, which was about design, computers, and presentation. Basically, everything someone like Todd cares about.
As far as the challenges, there were so many challenges involved in that project.
Challenges like making computers from 1984 look new again.
You could pull the old Macs apart and put this paste on them and leave them out in the sun, and it would bleach the plastics.
Or finding the perfect build of Blueberry iMacs. These details were key to making the movie and the movie's emotions feel real. One of the most touching scenes in the movie is when Steve Jobs connects with his daughter over a computer. The character is normally distant, but he's able to be more open and warm because of the software. And in the movie, they didn't fake it.
That was a Macintosh, and that was a special one. John, our engineer, had actually built a special video card for that one.
Push that key in the S at the same time.
And we had to load everything off of floppies.
I'll type your name.
The artwork was created by our graphic artist on Photoshop. So then we had to figure out, how do you get this Photoshop document back down to a 400K floppy?
Do you know which boxes say?
It was really booting off the real Macintosh software. It was crazy, you know. There's something that the actor can act against. It's much better. It's better for the director. It's better for timing when things are cued and when people can respond. It's better for the editors because they have something to edit against versus trying to cut to something that's not there. And it just makes the whole process smoother, even if there's something that needs to be changed later and they have to burn it in later, which sometimes happens.
That makes it worth the difficulty and the stress, worth doing live instead of after the fact. The gimmick in the net was a hidden backdoor that basically unlocks the internet.
You click on the little pi symbol while you're holding this key, and then you get into that, which again was pretty ridiculous. At least it moved the story forward enough and not, didn't pull you out.
The idea is implausible, but kind of compelling. There is a whole world tucked in the bottom right of a screen somewhere, hiding in plain view. That's how movies build worlds, with obsessed over details that make it easier to produce and see emotion because there aren't any distractions. Because the world feels real. To see it, you have to take the time to search for it.
This picture is of when I worked on Star Trek Nemesis, and that's the little ship, the plaques that they have on the bridge. And it has a lot of the names of people who worked on the movie, so I'm in there.